Moving on from the initial workup, new patient, new diagnosis, what about imaging? What is your initial imaging of choice? Do you get cross-sectional imaging on everybody with a new bladder cancer diagnosis? Oftentimes they'll probably have it before they get to you, but if you get to pick, what do you order?
Yeah, if I get to pick, I order a CTU if their renal function is good. If they come with a CT scan just, with and without contrast or just with contrast, I accept that as long as everything else sort of is lining up to not make me exceptionally suspicious that there's an upper tract lesion that I'm missing. And if they come with something else, I'm not going to repeat that imaging just to get what I want generally.
I would say the same thing, unless it's someone who I am more worried about muscle invasion. If I say hydronephrosis, then I'll say, look, I definitely need a CTU. If you just have a CT scan, which is often, they'll come for a CT scan and there might be a bladder mass, then at the time of the TURBT, I'll just do retrogrades. I would try to do those retrogrades before I resect the tumor because I'm of the mindset I don't want cancer cells kind of floating up there, but I think a CTU is standard.
That sounds good to me. That's exactly what I do. I think that's very nice. What about MRI protocols? Do you guys have an MR urography protocol in your institution or not yet?
Yeah, it's surprising. We're so good with MRI when it comes to prostate cancer, but I think with bladder cancer, there's just very little appetite, at least among our radiologists, to really, into it very deeply. I've met some younger ones who are now interested, so we're hoping to get involved and look at VRADs and see if we can use MRI to stage bladder tumors. I will use it after trimodal therapy for bladder cancer because I feel that it really tells me if there's something hidden within the wall of the bladder for a recurrent muscle invasive tumor. But as an initial for non-muscle invasive disease, I rarely use MRI.
How about you, Ann?
I agree. Patients come with MRI, and I feel like sometimes it can be a pitfall because the data, if you read it, is pretty good, supporting, the ability to look at local staging with the MRI. But I feel that it's so user dependent in terms of the read. And so many patients will come and say, well, the MRI says it's not muscle invasive. And I'm like, well, you have hydro and literally the pathology shows, something very, very different or, a really concerning high-grade T1. And so I think that it can give patients a little bit of a false sense of security sometimes, or try to have them try to limit the actual pathologic staging, that we need to do.
I agree. I don't think we're quite at staging with imaging alone for bladder cancer. So I do think that's a possibility. I think we could get there as our protocols get better, as reliability, inter-reader reliability improves. I think it's an interesting space to watch, but I don't think it's there at the moment. You wanted to talk about biomarkers a few minutes ago, so let's spend some time on this. I think this is interesting, and I think it gets complicated. So tell me what you use now. I know you said when you started it was cytology only.
I've experimented with a lot of different biomarkers. For example, NMP22 has a nice point of care test. It used to. The advantage of that test is that it has a very high negative predictive value. So one of my mentors, Bart Grossman, had done a trial where he had looked at omitting an annual cystoscopy in patients, with low-grade, low-risk disease if their NMP22 was negative. And that actually, I think, was a great strategy. So I think to Ann's point earlier, a lot of these low-grade, low-risk patients, some of those intermediate risk even, they get a lot of anxiety for TURBTs. So for some of them, I will just say, well, look, I'll do an annual NMP22 or an annual cytology and if it's negative for high-grade disease, maybe we'll skip your cysto for the year and go to every other year for a cysto for a known low-grade tumor, low or even intermediate risk tumor that's low-grade. I think NMP22 is an easy test that one can do. It's available. I think there are some newer ones. We can talk about them. Cxbladder, EpiCheck. I think they have some promise. The problem is the gold standard is cytology. And for cytology, for when you think about hematuria, having, someone with gross hematuria still has a very low risk of having bladder cancer. So cytology is great for someone as a biomarker for someone who, because you're looking for something with a high specificity, And I think for cytology, it's a really good test for that. I think for recurrent tumors, the problem is that you need somebody with a high negative predictive value and high sensitivity. And that's where cytology fails us. And I think all of these newer biomarkers, you started with Eurovision, and now it's moved on to Cxbladder and EpiCheck. I think these are improving upon cytology when it comes to low grade, low risk and intermediate risk bladder tumor. But it's hard to sort of dethrone cytology. I think cytology is still very good for the disease we worry about the most, which is high risk disease.
So Anne, I'm going to ask you, cytology in particular, if you have an intermediate risk patient, are you using it for them or no?
So it probably depends on what the intermediate risk is. I mean,
recurrent low-grade
yes.
person,
So I try to stop myself from using it in those patients is the reality. I know that it's very low utility, and I don't think we should be using it. And I try to get over my old ways and stop just sending it as a reflex. There was a really interesting study that I came across, and honestly, as I was telling Bogdana in preparation for this podcast, because I don't use a ton of markers in my practice. I use Cxbladder. I think that, we should acknowledge that in the hematuria space, they've done a really nice, actually randomized controlled trial, which there are, few and far between. But I came across another study called UroFollow, and I don't know if you guys are really familiar with this. I was not, but they looked at sort of combining all of these different markers, in this intermediate low risk to try to avoid cystoscopy. And I thought that was sort of an interesting intermediate strategy. Maybe that's where we are. And I think they combine cytology, Eurovision, and maybe one or two other factors to decide, who was going to get a cystoscopy and not. And I think, going forward, some of those types of strategies where we're looking at a mutational panel, an mRNA panel, and different ways of attacking this to be able to feel like we're not missing tumors may become something, but I don't think we're quite there.
So some combination approach maybe to delay the cystoscopy interval, trying to factor in what biomarker we can use in this space. Absolutely. I think that would be interesting. I know during COVID, people did publish on using this biomarkers. I think Dr. Porton actually published on using CX in this space, showing the safety and feasibility of it. But I also feel like after COVID, a lot of us went back to doing what we were doing before instead of integrating some of these new approaches.
I use CX again. I go to this very rural clinic once a month. And so I've had to sort of change my strategy there because it's so different than practicing in the university environment. And many patients just don't show up for their cystos, and patients I'm quite worried about. And so I do mail them a CX kit if I can't get them in for, I feel like it's in a way, maybe it's better than nothing, but there is pretty good sensitivity, certainly for high-grade disease. I think that it can be a very, very helpful tool, at least also to convince patients sometimes that they do need a cystoscopy.